What's going on, guys? This is Amari Rodgers, wide receiver trainer and skills training coach here at Triple F. I'm sitting here with one of my guys, Weston Ritter. Weston, talk a little bit about yourself, man, and what brought you here. Why you train at Triple F, and a little bit about that.
You know, uh, when I was at a young age, I wanted to be a. It's always been a dream of mine to play college ball and be the best version of myself. Going to all these camps and stuff and seeing all these guys like bigger, faster, stronger. I wanted a piece of that. When I went to these camps, I felt like I was kind of like I stood out, not in like the best way.
Hmm.
So I wanted to get in the lab, start working, getting back into it, and making myself better so I could really stand out.
Hmm. For sure, and saying that, like when you're saying you don't want to stick out, you also gotta like dive into your weaknesses again. You know what I mean? We all have strengths. We all have things that we're good at. But in order to take our game to that next level, we gotta tap into the things that we're not as good at, right? So talk a little bit about the things that you kind of discovered about your game when you say you stood out. Not in the best way, and how you attack those things in order to improve your game.
I feel like one of the biggest things for me was my speed. I've not always been the fastest. So I really got in Triple F, started working out, trying to up that speed, and then I got in the track and tried to really get that going. And then one of the other big ones, I guess I'd say my size. I wasn't the biggest like the other guys, all the bigger receivers, I guess.
Hmm.
It's what kind of brought me here. I wanted to, set a basis of where I wanted to be,
For
seeing
sure.
these different guys.
For sure, no doubt about that. A part of being a receiver, obviously being physically gifted, being strong, having that strength, catching the ball, to be able to not get the ball knocked out. You got to have strong hands,
Yeah.
strong grip. You got to work on that. And, obviously, like you said, you're not the tallest, you know what I mean? So you got to naturally, be bigger somehow, you know what I mean? You can't
Yeah.
be the shortest and
Yeah.
the smallest too. So, what I mean? It's good that you were able to figure out that you need to get bigger and gain more muscle and stuff like that so that you can go out there and be able to play in a dominant fashion that you obviously portrayed in your last year at Carnes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your skills as far as receiver play. Talk about the progress that you've made throughout your high school career. Where you started as a freshman. Seeing your freshman self
Mhm.
all the way up to your senior self now. How you progressed as far as the receiver play and
I
getting better
mean,
there.
honestly, so freshman year, I kind of had a high head, hoping could have came in, made an impact. I didn't play at all. I didn't play any minutes. I started working in the off season, got kind of bigger. Um, we had a scrimmage against Carter, broke my collarbone,
Mm.
3 spots. I wasn't able to play at all that season,
Wow.
so that kind of put me out of it. That off season, I kind of used that. That's when I really, really started getting in Triple F. I was here every single day, um, getting bigger. Started training. In that junior year, it kind of took a toll. It kind of set me off where I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then senior season came around. I was projected to be one of the better, receivers, athletes in the county, and it like set in for me. Okay, the work has been put in. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that's good. That's crazy because my freshman year of high school, I had my first scrimmage, my first touch ever in high school varsity football. I broke my collarbone.
Really,
So
really.
literally my first touch of varsity ball, thinking that I was a big guy
Yeah,
now, with the
yeah,
big dogs. Got my first carry, went around the corner, tackled me on the sideline, and I
mm,
was out for
yeah,
half of the season. Came back like 3 games, 3 or 4 games, broke it again. So I got a
wow,
plate and they screws in it
wow,
now. So that was my freshman year in
yeah,
college, and that, like you said, that put in my head that dang, I'm too small. Like
yeah,
I need to get in the weight room. I need to get bigger, and that's when I really started to lock into.
mm,
After I broke my collarbone, and that kind of woke me up
mm,
and made me realize that the weight room does matter. Because
yeah,
before that I used
yeah,
to hate lifting. Now, at this point I still hate lifting, but
yeah,
I know that made me conscious and know that the weight room is important and it's good to get muscle and build that mass so you can take those hits and stuff
mm,
like that. So that's cool, man. Let's talk a little bit about your college, where you signed to, how that came about, and a little bit about how that's coming about.
it's honestly been slow um, over the summer and kind of some little bit of August going to all these camps and stuff. I mean, we were trying to go everywhere camping. It was really slow.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting like the D2 attention. Um, kind of like schools like Carson Newman, Emory and Henry, schools like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have not made a decision of where I'm going yet.
Hmm.
It's kind of pending. Just trying to figure out everything. I'm really excited for it though. I've enjoyed the process. I'd do anything to do it all over again. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And I know we've talked a little bit behind the scenes about, it's not really about where you start, it's about where you finish,
Mhm.
right? Especially now with the portal, it's guys that start D3, D2, they shine, and then they get an opportunity D1,
Yeah.
and they ball out, and then they end up in the league, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way the game is now, how it's set up, is different than when I was in high school and in college, right?
Yeah.
You can start somewhere smaller and get noticed, and you're the guy in D1
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
2 or 3 years down
Like
the
that
road, right?
that guy from I don't know where is that D3. He's at the Senior Bowl. He's balling in front of
Exactly. I
everybody.
think Tyron
Yeah.
Montgomery,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just whoever finds you.
Yeah.
If you're balling, wherever you're at, somebody's gonna
Yeah.
find you, man.
Yeah.
So always keep that in mind. And whenever you're working, wherever you decide to go, never get too down on yourself. You know what I mean? Just know that, hey, as long as I'm doing what I need to do where my feet are, you know what I mean? Somebody's gonna notice, and that flower will
Mm.
sprout whenever the time was right. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? All right, so let's talk a little bit about, coming off your injury, your collarbone injury, coming to your junior year. Obviously we said you had to get more physically,
Mm.
in shape in order to withstand the hits and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about like actual receiver play, like the field work, the skill set work. What happened in between that time? What did you realize, and where did you grow from your junior year to senior year on the field with receiver play?
I mean, like I said, it kind of started at a young age. I wanted to play Division 1 ball. And then I feel like once that injury happened, it kind of just it kind of took a toll on me negatively. Kind of shut me down for a little bit.
Hmm.
I wanted to be there for the guys. I wanted to be there for my team, and I wanted to make a impact when I did come back.
Hmm.
So I had started getting with trainers around the town. I started working on speed with them, jumping, agility. I mean, because wasn't really the best.
Hmm.
I mean, footwork started getting better progressively. Speed, you could honestly tell a little bit. Um, it felt like I was doing the right stuff. And then, like I said, going into that junior year, really, really impressive season. Honestly, it surprised me. It surprised my family.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't the oldest, but I mean, I did what I could. You know what I
Right,
mean?
for sure.
Put in different situations, I feel like made me the person I am today.
Hmm.
Then going into that senior year, in that off season, I was really, really focusing on, okay, this is really what I want to do.
Hmm.
I want to get to the next level. I want to do my accomplishments, and I feel like I achieved a lot of those. Getting in the footwork, everything like that, and then after the senior season, which was impressively good,
Hmm.
um, I kind of slowed down my training.
Right.
I wasn't really training as much because I feel like I had it all done.
Yeah.
But then seeing all these guys, okay, they're doing this stuff.
Hmm.
Why am I not doing this stuff? So I was like, okay, let me get back into that training.
Hmm.
So then that's when I came to you. I was like, hey, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? Um, just working on different stuff, like working on breaks one day and then working on cuts the other. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's two different things that are a big basis on the game.
No doubt.
So I mean, working specifically on this stuff day to day, I feel like it's really gonna make an impact on me in the long run.
For sure, no doubt. And like you said, knowing the difference between a break cut and a speed cut,
Mhm.
like you said, those are little things that people don't really
It's
realize,
like the
in high
little
school.
details, yeah.
Exactly, the little details, and that's kind of what I want, my guys in high school to realize, that the receiver position is more about the finer, smaller
It's
details.
not necessarily just catching the ball and running.
Exactly,
It's
you know what I
the
mean?
little things that progresses in you catching the ball, stuff like
Exactly.
that. Coming out of breaks, um, false steps, stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
little things.
Exactly. Like you said, a progress.
Yeah.
It's a progress to every single route. Like I said, foundation of every route is the stance and the start, right?
Yeah.
And like every workout, we start with a stance and a start, right? I want to build a foundation to the whole workout, set its tone for the whole workout to know that every single route starts with that, coming off the ball with speed, being powerful off the ball. And even when you're pressed, still being aggressive, being powerful in your stance and knowing what you have to do, having a plan. You know what I mean? If you don't have a plan, then you're messed up
Yeah.
off the jump. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, setting the foundation with the stands to start, and then after that, winning, stacking, getting hands off,
Mhm.
getting in position so that when you do get to the break point, you're in a position to win. And instead of having to fight super extra and get them off of you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're already putting yourself in position
Yeah.
to be at the winning position at the top to separate. So, like you said, those little things, those final details, that's what I try to instill in you guys to be a tone and recognize before every single play so that, you know, when it comes game time, it's innate and you just reacting instead of
Yeah.
thinking all the time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, you know, if you were talking to a younger you or, you know, a guy that's a kid that's going into high school that, you know, looks up to you because,
Mhm.
like you said, you were a dominant player for Carnes. I know it's a lot of Carnes kids that look up to you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? If one were to come up to you and say, you know, what advice would you give me now? You
Mhm.
know, going into high school and you finishing up. You know, what would you say to him? You know, how would you tell him to approach, you know, working out with receiver versus the weight room and stuff like that? What would you tell him to go about it?
You know, I'd really figure out if this is what you want to do. You know, it's nowadays game of football has changed. It's more of a business than just a oh let's go play ball. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Um, for the youngers, I'd feel like just kind of balance everything out. You know, one day go train, next day go work out. Kind of just flip flop it.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays with the transfer portal, all these younger guys are getting more looks
Mm-hmm.
because they're developing early. You
Right.
know, I feel like that's a big thing for the younger generation um, that most people don't see. Coming in as a freshman, I feel like really take everything serious. You know, I want to do this. Hey, let's get in this work. Let's go out and catch balls. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, like I said, it's just the little things. Figure out if this is what you want to do, and be that leader.
Mm-hmm.
Be that leader that goes out. Okay, let's get to work. Install that.
Mm-hmm. For sure, no doubt. I agree. Like you said, the earlier that you instill that you want to be a football player, that you want to achieve, you know, the higher goals of making it to the D1, making it to the league. Once you lock that in, the sooner you'll be off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can't just click it on. You see, like you said, your junior year, you
Yeah.
see, you know, people, you know, getting offers and getting this and that. You know, you
Yeah.
can't wait until then to be like,
Yeah.
I want to click it on, right? You
Yeah.
gotta.
I feel like that's kind of what made a lot of it slow
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't really start training how I was my junior and senior season like I did freshman year.
Right.
I feel like it really took off because college coaches come talk to me junior year. You know, what am I? Why aren't they talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you see all these younger guys getting it because they know what they want to do. They've been instilled with that at a young age,
For sure.
kind of putting the bases in.
Like you said earlier, like developing, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it starts as a freshman, you know, finding a trainer or finding a coach that you can attach to, that you trust, that can, you know, make you better. You know, that you can go to, be vulnerable with, you know, express your weaknesses, and they can coach you up and
Find
put
someone
you
that believes in you.
literally
Like
exactly.
that's a big thing. I feel like
Exactly.
find someone that believes in you. You know, wants to put the time into you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been in a lot of bases where, you know, maybe I'm not getting all the looks I feel like I should have, or
Mhm.
maybe we're putting time into something that's not kind of giving me that positive impact. You know what I mean?
Right, no doubt. And that's why I feel like important for me to know your weaknesses and your strengths, to ask you before a session, you know, what do you want to work on? Because,
Yeah.
you know, I can lay out a million cones and I
Yeah.
tell you, do that, run here, cut here, do that, do that.
Yeah.
And we're just running around in circles. But,
Yeah.
like, if I actually know what you want to work on, if I actually know what you need, then we're actually getting something done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Progressing. Yeah.
exactly, we're progressing. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what's important for me is to actually get to know the people that I work with, actually get to see what their weaknesses are versus their strengths, so that when we're working, we're actually being productive
Yeah.
and we're not just out there wasting time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, Weston, my guy, I appreciate you sitting in with me, you know, chopping it up a little bit about your career, and, you know, about your work ethic, man. Wish you the best of luck wherever you end up signing. Know we're going to still be grinding up until that point, you know, trying to get you right, man. And wide receiver skill sessions, you know, with Triple F. Right now, we have sign-ups for Saturday at 1 o'clock. After the NFL Combine guys leave, we're going to have 2 sessions at 11 and 1. You can sign up on my Instagram and my link. And also, you can go to Triple F's website to do the same thing. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Weston, thanks for sitting in with me. And that's all we got.